We've got some pretty interesting PlayStation news, and I feel like this is something definitely worthwhile doing a video on. I know some people might feel a certain way by different things that are happening in the world of PlayStation right now, and we still want to see, some interesting things happen with like maybe a showcase and something along those lines, and we'll probably get that sooner rather than later. The thing that I wanted to talk about in this video is I think is good news, although some people probably will think that it's maybe a little bit negative on a slant somewhat. But for me anyway, I find this to be fairly interesting and good news, and I want to get into it. What's up, everybody? Crap Gamer here with Crap Gamer Reviews, back with another video. Thank you so much for taking time out to check out this one. Like the video if you wouldn't mind, slap that like button, and maybe consider subscribing if that wouldn't be too much trouble to ask. That would be pretty cool, in fact. So thank you guys. Anyway, so we know that there's a lot of issues with the Bungie situation right now, right? There's no way really around that. There are a lot of issues there. But something that I feel like could be good is it looks like PlayStation boss Herman Hulst is taking control of Bungie as ex-employees call for the current CEO to leave. Pete Parsons is in the firing line, according to this. Anyway, back when Sony acquired Bungie for $3.6 billion, the deal reportedly stressed that the Destiny developer would continue to remain independent and would operate adjacent to PlayStation Studios rather than underneath of it. However, there were apparently performance targets in place, which actually meant that, that if the studio missed them, PlayStation management would wrestle back control. It's unclear what exactly happened this past week, but following a significant downscaling of the Halo maker, it does sound like Sony is beginning to show a bit of authority over its acquisition. Well-connected industry person Jeff Grubhub wrote on X, he said, "In time, Bungie will lose its autonomy and will become like any other PlayStation studio under Sony Interactive Entertainment and Herman Hulst. While staff has been previously resistant of the idea of PlayStation management coming in, it seems like the latest round of layoffs are proving to be the straw that broke the camel's back. Bungie cut around 220 employees this week, with a further 150 relocated to roles elsewhere within Sony. A remaining 40 staff are in the process of establishing a brand new PlayStation studio, which I had covered previously." So again, when you look at this and you go, okay, well, what's happening here with PlayStation? I have to say it's just one of those things that this makes a lot of sense to have Herman come in there and kind of run things, because things are kind of spiraling out of control very quickly for Bungie, which used to be like a super respected company, and now it's like, I'm not sure exactly. I've mentioned this numerous times. I've never been a Destiny person, but it does seem like, they need to get kind of back on track there. Many former employees of Bungie feel it's time for current CEO Pete Parsons to go. "Quote unquote, you are a liar, a thief, and so many things we can't discuss publicly," alleged ex-community manager. "Step down and without the giant Sony payout. This isn't on Sony, this is squarely on failure of leadership, plain and simple." Griffin Bennett, who previously worked on Destiny, added, "It's C-suite taking accountability of any of this, or are we withholding bonuses, and it'll be settled in-house. Poor leadership has crushed one of the greatest developers of all time. Retire Pete." And community coordinator Sam Bartley continued, "Coward, you did this, you chose this. I'm already listed as do not work with, and I don't care anymore. You lied to my face, straight to it. You also invited me to come see your new cars 2 days before you laid me off. 2 effing days, leave now." Pete Parsons joined Bungie all the way back in 2002, where he initially worked as an executive producer and studio manager. He had a hand in the release of Halo 2 and Halo 3 before briefly taking an executive producer position at Microsoft. He later returned to the studio when it went independent prior to the release of Destiny. But, obviously a lot of people are calling for this guy to kind of step down or whatever. You can't really make up this kind of stuff in terms of the negativity. I'm flat out saying, I do think that it is a negative situation, but I think that it can be turned into a positive if you have someone like Herman, who seems like he can run a ship okay when it comes to something like that. So you have this guy maybe doing the right thing, trying to right the ship of this almost $4 billion acquisition. You don't want this thing totally going down the toilet. So hopefully that's something that they could do and kind of get in the right or whatever. So, like I said, it is, I think, probably something of a weird situation for them. And again, it's not ideal because Bungie has been known for different things for a long time, and then when you see stuff like this happen, you just kind of question like what can they do in the future to kind of turn things around even further. Like I think that's going to be the main thing that they're going to have to do. They're going to have to make people believe in the product again, whatever it is. There's people that absolutely love Destiny. I'm not one of them, but supposedly they canceled the next Destiny thing, and they have some kind of weird, and I've mentioned this before, that game that people are kind of hyping up, that new IP that'll probably be PlayStation exclusive, it's not going to be a hit. It's definitely not going to be a hit. It's like it's going to be worse than like Foam Stars or whatever the case may be. So when you see these type of things, like I said, it's easy to kind of point them out and go, okay, well, what's the word going on here? What's things gonna change? But if you put Herman Holst in charge of things, I think maybe you could maybe salvage something. I don't know, but as far as I'm concerned, man, you got to have Bungie working on Destiny. You got to have Bungie working on maybe something new that isn't an extraction shooter. I don't know. Like, to me anyway, it just feels like they have Bungie working in like all the wrong directions. But again, this is just my opinion. I mean, maybe you guys have a slightly different opinion. I'm not really sure, but like I said, I feel like this is probably a good move, and and I think it's a good move for PlayStation fans for a couple of reasons as well, because you probably get some exclusive content out of this now, right? So instead of having Bungie, which to me never made sense, right? So they paid all this money for Bungie, but you get nothing exclusive out of it. That seems like a weird thing. It's the same thing with Microsoft to a lesser extent with Activision. It's like they paid all these billions of dollars for Activision, and yet they're not going to give anybody anything exclusive on the Xbox out of this deal. Like, I'm not suggesting that it would have been smart to have Call of Duty make that exclusive by any means. Like, I always thought it made the most sense to keep that everywhere, because that's a game that literally you have to be able to make the money back on that, and they have so many people working on that every single year, and it makes billions and billions of dollars. So that didn't make sense. But for Bungie, man, I don't see why at all it wouldn't make sense to have something exclusive. If you paid for them, then make it exclusive. Why not? I think that would be probably the best bet for Sony going forward. But I'm curious to hear what everybody else has to think about this, because it is a very trending topic, and I would like to see how other people think. Do you think maybe Bungie should be making some exclusives for PlayStation? Do you think, Bungie's a lost cause? Is it the biggest waste of money in the history of gaming? Here's the thing. I always think it's funny when people go, it's a big waste. Microsoft wasted all that money on Rare. And, they only spent, a few $100 million on Rare, while you have Sony spending billions on Bungie and get really nothing out of it. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.